Hey everybody, it's Ryan here with Chosen Society. I want to thank you guys for checking out this video. Do me a quick favor. If I've spoken something into your life, I've given you a encouraging word or something, or if I've prophesied into your life and you've received that word, go ahead and like this video. I want YouTube to push this video out to as many people as humanly possible because I do have a word here that I believe is going to bless your soul. This morning, after our morning coaching call that we do here, in our mentorship group, I went to sleep and I had two dreams and they were connected to each other. So I want to reveal the revelation that I had in both of those dreams and just prophesy into your lives right now. For those of you guys who are being diligent and doing what the Lord is requiring of you in this season, you're being obedient in your word, you're being obedient in your study time, you're being obedient through your prayers, you're being obedient through your fasting, you're being obedient through your giving, you're being obedient in your assignment that God has called you to do. Some of you guys have graduated and you don't even realize it yet. So that's what the title of this video is going to be. You've graduated and don't realize it yet. So in the two dreams, there were a couple things that were connecting these two dreams. So I'm just gonna, break them down and prophesy this into your life. Some of you guys have been expecting some things from God, and God has been moving behind the scenes. You may not be able to see it, but when the manifestation hits this earth, it's probably going to be, somebody's going to have to point out to you that you've elevated and you've graduated and gone to the next level because you're so diligent in moving and carrying out the assignment that God has placed on your life that you're not even noticing the subtle things that are beginning to even happen as of right now. So in the first dream, I went to like a visiting church, right? And while I was at this visiting church, there were some like dignitaries. There was like a mayor. There was a couple celebrities. The only celebrity I could remember off the top of my head was Steve Harvey. He was there. He was with the mayor of Las Vegas. And they were there. They were getting introduced, right? And I remember leaving there and I went to my home church. Now, at my home church, the environment was different, right? We were in a larger space, right? Which I later found out in the dream was actually on a campus, on a school, right? But in the dream, I'm noticing that we're in a larger building and my pastor's there, right? And he's getting up to teach. And again, the same dignitaries that were at the church that had just left, they came in. Again, I remember Steve Harvey being there. Again, I don't know why he was in the dream, but anyway, there were these women who were guests who were getting ready to do a performance, right? And as they began to do the performance, they began to speak about some things that were like culturally related to like the African American community, and they started their performance, and they didn't have like a drummer. They didn't have a person to keep the rhythm of the song that they were performing, right? And me, I played in a African dance and drum ensemble for 11 years growing up. I saw quickly there was like on the mantle there was a drum, and this type of drum is a specific drum that I used to play. It's called a talking drum, right? And again, I think this has some significance here, as I'll explain. Basically, this particular type of drum, when you put tension on the strings of the drum, it produces a different type of tone, right? And based off of the tone that it produces, they are like words that could be translated as words, right? So I saw this thing sitting on the mantle. I went over there and I just began to play. Now, before I began to play, actually, I noticed something unique about this drum. When I picked up the drum, it was smaller than like a talking drum that I would have played before, right? It was significantly smaller. And on the drum itself, when I picked it up, I noticed that the head on one side was broken, and so I turned the drum around, and the head on the other side was broken as well. Now, typically on this particular instrument, and I hopefully you guys are tracking with me, this is going to be probably like a longer word, so please stay with me to get the full revelation of these two dreams, right? So as I begin to play, or I begin to look at the drums, I didn't expect it to produce like a really great sound, since the heads were broken. But anyway, in faith, I began to play, and I began to play on the drum, and I guess I was doing like a solo on the drum, and probably played the best piece of music that I've ever played on a drum that had broken heads. And now what I'm taking from this is that some of you guys have put something on the shelf, a gift that you have, a talent that you have, or even a word, because it's a talking drum, right? A word that God has spoken over your life, something that was communicated and spoken and talked over your life. You put it on the shelf. You don't think it's ever going to come to pass, because there's been so much time that has passed from the word being spoken over your life until now. Or if it's a gift or the talent, you think it's so insignificant, you think it's so small that it can't actually produce a sound, right? But what the Lord is trying to remind you on today is to pick that thing back up. You're about to make the most beautiful sound that you've ever made. I know that I've prophesied here on this channel that God would be using things from your past. God would be using some of the rubble from things that you've probably built in prior seasons in this current season. And I feel that impression even strongly right now. There's some things that you've tucked away, some things that you thought had no power, could produce no life. They're going to produce in this season, and it's going to sound sweet. So as I finished, playing this piece of music, there were some kids who were trying to come into the service. And this is how I discerned that this wasn't my normal, our church wasn't in our normal building, but we were on a campus, on a school's campus. And this is how these dreams can actually be connected. There was a security guard who came in, and he asked my pastor if my pastor wanted to press charges on these kids who were coming in and out trying to disturb the service. And I think my pastor was reluctant to press charges. He didn't want anything to happen to these kids. And the security guard sent the kids outside, and he began to tell my pastor that he should, press charges against these kids, because that's the only way that they're going to learn. That's the only way that they're going to actually stop the things that they're trying to do, as far as like distracting the service or just learn in general. And sometimes, now this could mean two things for you guys specifically. Sometimes there are going to be distractions in our lives. The enemy is sending in distractions to stop what God is doing, what God is trying to produce in your life right now. So we have to be laser focused, not to get off track. Also, sometimes when we're in seasons, even ourselves, we can mess up, we can get out of alignment, but it's God's correction that we must fall in love with. We must learn to love his correction. We must learn to find comfort in his rod and his staff, right? Because that's the only way sometimes we will actually learn what we're supposed to learn. So some of you guys right now, you've been on a journey. That's the only way I can probably describe it accurately. You've gone up and down. It's felt like it's been a roller coaster of a time that you've had. And I just feel the Lord is just letting you know and confirming to you what you already know, that this moment where you felt like you were being hit from all sides, it was just a moment of correction. God was trying to realign you back into what your purpose is. He was trying to shape you, mold you, and just get you back on track, right? So as the security guard is looking for my pastor's like his input on this. I notice that I began to tell my pastor, "Yeah, go ahead and press charges. This is the only way they're going to learn." And there was a young lady who was there and began to say to me, like, out of all the messed up things you've done in your life, you would want to press charges on these kids. And as I began to think, like, there was a lot of times where, because I was a good kid, I guess quote unquote good kid, there was a lot of things that I got away with. But had I gotten in trouble for them, I understand this now as an adult, that I probably wouldn't have made those decisions twice. I needed correction in those times where I got off. I needed, a godly man to rebuke me. I needed someone to step in to get me back in focus when I got off. And so now I'm learning to rejoice when the correction comes. I'm learning to accept and step into those seasons where God, he chastises us because he loves us. He corrects us because he loves us. He wants us to walk in purity. He wants us to walk in our birthright, right? So again, my position now is different what it would have probably been years ago. And even on yesterday in my regular waking life, I was prospecting for a business, and some of the people that I reached out to, again, were people from my past, and I could reread some of the conversations that I was having with some of these people, and I'm just baffled at some of the conversations that I was having. I could see now that, again, the person I am today is a person who loves God, a person who loves truth, a person who tries to live his life far removed from sin, and that's not what my old life was. And I think I got a flashback in the dream of some of those conversations that I was having, and I can remember having as this leads into the second dream. So in the second dream, I was at my high school, and I ended up showing up to school late, right? So this was like the first day of school. On the first day of school, in high school, typically they give you your when you go to homeroom, you report to a classroom, right? And then they give you your assignment of like all the other classes you're supposed to report to for the day, right? But I missed the time where the assignments were being handed out. I missed that time. I came late, and the assignments had been handed out. Now, while this happened, I just began to go through the day and just go to classes that I just wanted to go to, right? I just began to go down my own journey. Now it's closing in on 6th period. It's closing in on the end of the day, and I realized, like, tomorrow is gonna be bad if I don't figure out what classes I need to go to, what my actual assignment is. And I think right now, as we are in the last days, some of you guys may have been confused on what your assignment is, what God wants you to do with your life. And again, I think this video right here, this word is to encourage you to lean into God, to try to figure out what your assignment is, to listen for his voice so he can direct you to what your assignment is. And part of your assignment could be, again, connected to the thing that you've put on the shelf, the thing that you tucked away, the thing that you thought God wasn't going to bless, that God is getting ready to bless, right? So I go to the counselor's office, and the counselor is in her office, but she has all these girls in there, and they're gossiping. And I'm like, some of the conversations that they were having, I mean, again, you would think that an adult, a responsible adult, wouldn't be having some of these conversations with kids, right? And so I just kind of got bothered, and I just said, I'm gonna just go ahead and figure this out on my own. So as I left her office, and I was just kind of like wandering around the school. Eventually, in the dream, the counselor found me, and she said, "Your last name is Tate, right?" And I said, "Yeah." And she's like, "I looked you up. You're not in the system." And I'm like, "That's crazy. Like, I'm supposed to be here. I've been going to this school for years. This is where I'm supposed to be. And she laughed. She's like, well, it's the first day of school. Like, I always have to ask this, did you already graduate? And then it hit me in the dream that I wasn't supposed to be there at this high school because I'd already graduated. And I think some of you guys right now, you may not be noticing it because of the circumstances and the situation that you've gone through. You may not be noticing it now. But this video here is to remind you, like, the person that you were even last year is not the person that you are right now. You've gone on a journey where you've pursued God to the point where your wants and your desires are lining up with His. You are a completely changed person. You are going after righteousness. You're seeking righteousness, and that you're almost unrecognizable. The person that you are today is not the person you were a few years ago, and you may not notice, but you've graduated. God is taking you to the next level. So in the first dream, again, it seemed like we were like in a more like an auditorium style, possibly like a college campus. And I think this is also a second connection in the word is you need to act like the level that God is taking you to. Stop trying to go back to high schoolish things when you've already graduated to the college level, right? You're already up above. It's time to put away those childish things. It's time to put away things that are below the level that God has called you and elevated you to right now. And again, thank you guys for being here. I know this is probably the longest word that I've ever released, but I felt an impression to get it out. And I know this, I keep going in and out of the sun. I don't want this phone to overheat before I'm done with the message. But the final thing that happened in this dream was, okay, so now I realized, okay, I can leave now. I can go. And as I was getting ready to leave, I saw one of my friends from high school who played in the band with us. He was 1 year older than me, so he really shouldn't have been there, right? But there was a performance. He was setting up an actual drum set. He was getting ready to perform and I guess play drums with a group called Imagine Dragons. And as I was seeing him set up for the things, we started to have a conversation about some Christian topics, and he was mocking me for my beliefs about Christianity. So I didn't say anything to him. I kind of left him alone. But I started, looking at the equipment, and some of these equipment, again, like it was just like artificial intelligence connected to the drums. It was like their drums had a mouth on it, right? But it couldn't talk, essentially, right? But in the first dream, I had a drum. It's called a talking drum, and even though the heads were broken, it still could speak, right? It could still talk. Some of you guys are so close to what God has for you. The enemy is trying to bring counterfeit things that look so closely, that look so attractive compared to the little thing that God has for you right now, right? But I promise you, if you pursue what God has for you, no matter how small it looks right now, it's going to produce a better sound than this artificial intelligent counterfeit type of thing that the enemy is trying to show you that looks more glamorous, right? We all have an option to choose to trust God and to pursue the things of God, or we can pursue the things of the enemy. So again, some of you guys, again, you have graduated to another level. You may not even realize it yet. But while this graduation has taken place, don't get so distracted that you begin to pursue the counterfeit things. They may look so close to what God has for you that you have to stay connected to Him to know what is real and what is artificial. And despite what the naysayers may say, people are going to come out of the woodwork to try to accuse you, try to bring up things from your past to try to delay you. Keep your eyes focused on what God has for you and you will be wearing that cap and gown. So God bless you guys on this video. Thank you guys for who are active part of this ministry by leaving comments, by liking the videos, and those of you guys who are also sowing seeds. Thank you guys. You are blessing us so that we can keep going. Again, if you feel led today to sow into this message, sow into this word, go ahead and giving me information is going to be below. Also, I'm going to link to some other prophetic words that I believe tie into this message, that make it a complete message in itself when you listen to the body of work of what the Lord is saying. So God bless you guys. I will see you guys on the next video. Bye-bye.